Hey dear ones, today you can expect a topic here on the little planet that keeps bothering me from time to time and that I would like to talk about. It's about having success, being successful, and also very specifically about the question, am I successful? So, that's what I'm going to talk about here today. And I'll also tell you what Friedensreich Hundertwasser has to do with this question and refer to one of his letters to me. By the way, Friedensreich would have loved these clouds and the rain, because when are the colors so intensely bright and perceptible as on a rainy day? As most of you who land here regularly know, I'm always working on some kind of creative project or other, and I'm usually involved in several at once. I can't help it. I'm an artist, and it actually took me a long time to be able to say it exactly as I have just said it. I've always known that I'm an artist, but for me this fact wasn't of any great significance. It was more of an observation. And yet it was always rather unpleasant to be asked about it early on, sometimes almost embarrassing. When asked, "So, what do you do for a living?" I was glad that I had also trained as an educator. That way, I could simply keep quiet about my vocation, my purpose, in example, what I was and I'm doing most of my life. At some point, that changed. I changed. My answer, I'm an artist, was followed by new questions. Oh, can you make a living from it? Or is it just a hobby? Or, should I know you and your art? Can it be seen somewhere? And does it earn you anything? Are you really successful with your art? Well-intentioned and, of course, perfectly legitimate questions in our society. Even an artist has to eat and earn a living. The dictionary defines success as the positive result of an effort. And Wikipedia defines success as whenever a person achieves the goals they have set themselves. And that leads me to the question, am I successful at what I do, indeed what makes me tick? And that in turn leads me to a deeper way of looking at things and at myself. Friedensreich and I also discussed the question of when is one successful in art. We got to know each other when he saw a mural of mine as part of one of his projects. We exchanged addresses and began a correspondence. What we both agreed on right from the start is the fact that an artist simply has to be active. He can't do anything else. Friedensreich even went so far as to write me once, "If you don't paint, you'll get sick." And he went on to say that our own art is a self-affirmation of our own independence. That immediately resonated with me. For me too, I have to make my art. There's no deliberation, not even a choice. It just always happens. I love feeling this pure creative force flowing through me again and again. And there's no reason for me to ask myself why I'm doing it or what I'm getting in return. These are simply not relevant questions for me in my creative processes. Of course, it's nice when other people are inspired by my artworks, when they like them, and it's certainly very pleasing when people buy them. But that is not what drives me to create art. It doesn't matter whether it's a painting, a piece of music, a video, a dance, or whatever. Of course, there are social conventions about what is considered meaningful art. Conventions that lead to evaluations, to judgments. You could also say that works of art pass through a social filter at the time in which they are created. And there's a consensus, a majority social agreement about what art is or what it's not. Friedensreich Hundertwasser's academic education lasted only a short time, and he repeatedly emphasized that it didn't determine the value of works of art. His mother painted scenic and colorful pictures in a naive, even childlike way, for which he had great admiration. For him, his mother's paintings reflected simplicity and unadulterated artistic creation, which he actually said was denied to him. Art history is full of artists who were not seen as such during their lifetime. Or I could also say that art history is empty of them, because they themselves were not mentioned and their art was of no significance. But for me, that doesn't mean that they have been unsuccessful in terms of their art. However, if success is only measured by how much public recognition artists receive, how much money they generate through their art, how many so-called followers, how many likes, views or comments they receive, then none of this is the same as what I mean by being successful. In social media, such as here on YouTube, the algorithm may not be particularly interested in them. But you can find them here, small channels with fantastic art that almost nobody knows about. They may not be suitable for the majority, but these artists successfully create wonderful art. And they all create vibrations here in this world with their works of art. The British musician Daniel Albarn said this, and the American painter John Mitchell even called them waves of meaning. And well, of course, there has always been and still is, I want to say, a certain field of tension between artists and commerce. My partner and artist once humorously called it the often porous employment biography of us artists. So, am I artistically successful? For me, whenever an immediate impulse to create manifests itself in a work, this is already considered a success. What happens is a consequence of this impulse. I follow this impulse. A work of art follows. The work of art itself and the work on it, the confrontation with it, the process of creation, is the success in itself. Art has to pour itself into a certain form in order to become visible, or audible and so on at all. But ultimately, all art arises, indeed springs from a source, or let me say, the source, which as such has no form. Reminding myself of this again and again is absolutely crucial for me, and also shows me why I feel that meditation is such a great gift. Meditation and artistic creation point to exactly the same source I just mentioned. And so, it's that I can actually feel and sense very often in the artistic process. I'm not making art, I am art. And so it is that I will continue to make my videos and share my art, and much more, with you here on this little planet. Who knows? Maybe there will be one or two so-called waves of meaning for you from time to time. Thank you for accompanying me this far, here on the little planet, which can also be your little planet, as always.